world currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's live edition. It's January 16th, 2013. And since I only have my guest for an hour, I am not going to waste any time. I'll rant and rave in hour number 2, don't worry. Make sure you stay tuned for all that. But I want to cut to the chase. My guest tonight is a good friend of mine and one of the founding fathers, I would say, in the new liberty evolution or restoration of the Constitution, whatever you want to call it. And I don't want to call it a movement, so I'll just say the idea of it. And he's a massive proponent of free information and an all-around good guy. My good friend, Gary Franchi. Gary, welcome to the broadcast.
Hey, Popeye, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Man, it's been a while since I had the pleasure of having you on the broadcast, and since then you've just undertaken so many endeavors. You're now a proud papa. Life has brought you down an interesting path, my friend. So, one, congratulations, and two, just seeing your transformation, from when you first took over things from Aaron Russo to now is just utterly amazing, my friend. So, my hat's off to you. You've done an amazing job so far. I think Aaron would be very proud of you.
Well, thank you. It's a labor of love, and I'm someone who I like to dream big and challenge myself and put big projects in front of me. And I have to say that I have been truly blessed by this movement of people who believe in the message of liberty and believe in my ability to execute programs and projects. So people donate so that we can move forward. And in that process, we've been able to develop this alternative media entity on so many different fronts that we've grown it now to, we're no longer just in an alternative media stream, but we're also now on television, broadcasting to 8 million homes in South Florida every single night. So WHDT is the call letters. You can watch us, WHDT News and Weather, every night. And we have writers who are well-versed in what's happening today, every day. And you'll hear information that you're not going to hear on the regular networks, because the station that we broadcast on is one of the last independent stations in Florida. It's not corporate owned. It's owned by one person. He calls the shots, and he is liberty-minded individual. So that's just one element. That's our daily routine, and now we've got our alternative news stream that we are in still beta test phase at nextnewsnetwork.com. And, oh, man, all day today I've been programming time schedules and trying to crunch numbers and figure out ins and out points and bringing in different streams of data using computers to crunch that data, encode that data, push it back out through another server, which then picks it up by another server and then delivers it to the websites, and creating player codes that that stream of information can be digested and then transmitted to a video signal you can watch on your screen. Late night chat sessions with individuals who understand the technology and they teach me the technology, then I have to spend the whole next day trying to figure out what I learned at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then the cycle continues. Then we have our social network, RTR.org.
Which that in and of itself is a massive beast. People, if you don't know RTR.org, if you want, and Gary, I got to plug it like this really quick just because I have to. If you don't like Facebook, if you want to deal with liberty-oriented people, now I use Facebook to try to wake up the brain dead, and I look forward to when people like the brain dead challenge me on Facebook. But if you go to RTR, there's really not many brain dead people, but you'll find many like-minded people. So if you feel by yourself or like you're alone, go to rtr.org, and you'll find out very quickly that you're not. And it's neat because you can actually find people in your area that are liberty-minded and have brains, and you can meet up and perhaps maybe form a new chapter of whatever group, We Are Change, or whatever, maybe start your own little group, whatever you want to call it. Go out, give DVDs, flyers, screenings. Makes things much easier. So check it out. Gary busts his butt on rtr.org. So I'm on there. Orion's on there. Go on, Gary.
There's no rules, Popeye. It's just like when I first became aware of what's happening in the country today, back in late 2004, I was so frightened. I was so afraid. I didn't know where to turn. I had had this massive download of information on the truth of America, and didn't know where to go. And I started my own little organization. Back then it was called the Lone Lantern Society, and I met Aaron Russo, and then we developed Restore the Republic, RTR, and now you can go to that site, you join, you drop your zip code in, and you can actually go to the map on the website, and you can see how far other members are from you. It'll do a radius test, and it'll show, like I said, how far other people are from you, and if they're online or not, and you can connect with them, you can contact them, and it just one of the many features. People are always sharing videos, links, blogs. We've got some real. I mean, we've seen a traffic spike in the last 30 days. We're getting about 8,000 unique visitors every single day, which is pretty exciting. And that's actually doubled. It's doubled in 30 days. So, and I'm watching the Google Analytics tracking this upward spike, and it's on this trajectory. So if we're on the same path, then in another 30 days we'll probably be at 16,000 uniques if everything works correctly. And but that's just the nature of maintaining the infrastructure, maintaining the message, making sure people are able to communicate. And then all the other things we're doing, like with this news network.
Well, if somebody wants to help out you to help fund RTR or Next News, and they want to make a donation because maybe they can't get out in the street or whatever, but they believe in what you do, and they want to help out, how can they do that?
The easiest way is PayPal. Simply, if you go to restoretherepublic.com/give, and just type in any amount there, and it'll automatically take you to PayPal. It's a little redirect code someone had written for us years ago. And if you want to give regularly, you just type in restoretherepublic.com/give/ and any number, and then that'll automatically set up an automatic monthly billing subscription. So we've got a lot of people out there that support us monthly, and then we're going to be hiring a producer who's going to be starting in February 1st, and he's going to be taking over production responsibilities for the next news network.
Gary, I'm going to cut you off right there because we got a break sneaking up on us, but I'm going to have you pick up right there. I want to keep promoting the next news network when we come back, and I want to give out the call letters and stuff again for the station down here in South Florida when we come back, so the local listeners can check it out. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. Do not go anywhere. We got 3 more segments with my guest, Gary Franchi. Go check out rtr.org and check out the Next News Network. We'll be right back. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. And before the break cut us off, Gary was talking about his newest endeavor, the Next News Network, which, by the way, I have a embedded player right now. If you guys want to watch his feed, if you can see it all the time, just go to the Next News Network's website. It's nextnewsnetwork.com, right, Gary?
That's correct.
Okay, just go to their website and you can see the feed all the time there. But if you happen to be on Federal Jack and you want to watch the feed or whatever, you can always open it up in a separate tab right off the website itself. Up on the header bar, you'll see video. And if you highlight it with your cursor, it'll pop down and it'll say Next News Network Truth News. Click on that and it'll open up Gary's player in on a separate page by itself just for the Next News Network. So you can check it out in 2 locations. But I urge you to support Gary's website mainly and go to nextnewsnetwork.com. Gary, where in South Florida can they, if I have Comcast cable down here, right? Let's say I have Comcast. How would I get them to pick up your news feed from this network? Would I just call them and say I'd like to get whatever the call letters of the station are and get that pipe through?
We're already on Comcast. We have one show that's on Comcast. And that show is on Comcast, it's on DirecTV, and it's on over the air. So you don't even have, you can just pick up the old rabbit ears, and you could plug them into your television, and you can pick up the broadcast channel. The broadcast radius goes from Sebastian all the way down through Palm Beach, Stuart, Boca Raton, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, South Beach, and then Naples. That's the whole broadcast radius. And then we also have a repeater antenna in Boston, Massachusetts. So the broadcast, the over-the-air broadcast radius is about 8 million people.
That's a big area, man. That's like a good chunk of the East Coast, and then Naples is over on the West Coast. So that's a huge chunk.
Yeah, so if you could tune into our show every night at 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock. The call letters are WHDT, and I don't have the number in front of me. I think it's like 44, channel 44 on Comcast, and you can watch it. You can watch it right there. But it's pretty cool. You know, we produce all the stuff here in Chicago, and then we take that information, we pump it through the web down into the servers in the station, and then the show airs.
That's amazing that you can actually get real news about real things, like perhaps FEMA camps or the litany of other things that you guys cover. And yesterday we had our special guest was Stuart Rose, and Stuart Rose was talking about the Second Civil War and the possibility of the next revolution. And the context was it was hardcore freaking news, and there's no way you're going to see Stuart Rose get a fair interview on any network in the country except for when he's interviewing with me on WHDT, because I'm just going to ask him straight up questions, and I'm not going to harass him about his viewpoints, because for one, I understand it, but at the same time, I'm not. When I do my interviews for WHDT, I'm straight line. I don't show bias. That's the purpose of the show, is so that we're not trying to turn people in any direction. We let the facts speak for themselves, and the facts are pretty freaking damning, Popeye. I would say so, especially when you don't even have to go off into the skeptical side of things and start to say, well, maybe they could do this or they would do this in the future. You can just look at the things that they've said they're going to do or the things they've done, and that's outrageous enough. Yeah.
Let's see. It says WHTT broadcasts on channel 44 from Palm City and is carried on cable channel 44 and 1044 by AT&T, cable channel 17 and 438 by Comcast, and then satellite channel 44 and so it's like 44, 438. Those are looks like the channels there. And then also virtual channel 6, channel 38 in downtown Boston.
That's amazing, man. It's just utterly amazing to know that we've come this far as an evolution. And again, it's due largely in part to people like yourself doing this. I mean, this is something I never would have even thought of doing. And I remember you were like, hey, a couple months back, you were like, hey, actually more than a couple months back now, but you were like, hey, this is my new endeavor. This is what we're working on. And I mean, to see what it's already become, I'm impressed, Gary. It's impressive when I know that Stuart Rhodes was on someone's television down here in South Florida and in some televisions over on the West Coast, compared to 5 years ago where people wouldn't have even had that reach or access to that information. Just impressive. I really am. I'm surprised that this guy hasn't gotten shut down yet.
Well, we've had Lou Rockwell, Tom Woods, Stuart Rhodes, Sheriff Mack. We've had, your lineup, the whole lineup of patriots who are out there busting their ass every day, and we give them a platform, on television. And again, that's just one show that we do every day. Our crew comes in at 9 o'clock. We get the headlines. We pull all of our stories. We pull all of our footage. The girls get ready in makeup. They go stand in front of the screen. They read. I go down. I get my interview ready. We Skype in our guests with video. We double box it through a TriCaster. We record it all, chop it up, get it ready, edit, upload, boom, and it goes live. And then we take those same headlines and we actually run them throughout the day online on the Next News Network website. So the 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock hour it's interesting because the 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock hour for WHDT is essentially spread out and looped throughout the day every hour. So if you go anytime you go to nextnewsnetwork.com, those headlines you'll see looping on that every hour, at like the top of the hour, 15 after, 30 after, about 45 after. You'll see our headlines roughly. We're still working out all the fine tuning of the times, but that's what you'll see.
Do you know wherever Aaron is, he's smiling right now, right? Because you managed to get real information infiltrated into cable, big Comcast, New World Order, and you're able to get truth and real information out to people via their own network. That's amazing, dude. I'm telling you, Aaron would be very proud.
Well, Aaron, most people, I don't even know how many people really know this, but Aaron, one of the things he wanted before he passed away was a news network. That was something he really, really wanted to. And at the time when we started Restore the Republic, there was too much going on. There's still a lot of momentum from the film, and we had tax day protests that we were trying to organize. We had a lot of website rebuilds. There was a fracture in the leadership, so we're dealing with infighting and all this stuff's going on. So we just focused on getting the website up, getting the functionality and the communications infrastructure together for people. And then, of course, the media elements, that was a whole other hornet's nest that was getting kicked around. And, certain things don't happen overnight, and some people don't have patience for it. And, here we are.
Well, dude, you look what you've created. You did a good job. As I said, I think Aaron would be very proud of you. I'm going to cut us off because we got the break sneaking up on us. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We still got another half hour with Gary. So stay tuned. And, of course, stay tuned for the hour following that. But you definitely don't want to miss the next half hour with Gary. So don't go anywhere. Check out rtr.org and thenextnewsnetwork.com. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. And I have not yet plugged any of Gary's films. And this is not Gary asking me to do this. This is me making sure that I do this, because not only has he done this whole Next News Network thing, which by itself is impressive, and he's done RTR, but Gary's also an accomplished filmmaker in his own right. So, Gary, plug all of your films and where people can get them. And then if you'd like, you can go ahead and give them a teaser about what might be coming up next. Hint, hint, hint.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. My first documentary film that I worked on was America, Freedom to Fascism. That was with Aaron Russo. You can get that at freedomtofascism.com. Exposes the Federal Reserve, the IRS, the growing police state. It was a film that Ron Paul credits with bringing tens of thousands of people into his support base during the last two election cycles. Very, very powerful film. And that film really sparked the whole revolution across this country. There's no question about it. It made the Federal Reserve what it is now as a mainstream talking point, and made it so people could understand it. My second film was one that I had produced and co-written. It was a dream. It's something I always wanted to do, is create a film called Camp FEMA. And you go to campfema.com and you can check out the trailers. And that film talks about the continuity of government programs that are in place in the event of a national disaster, an emergency, a false flag, a pandemic, you name it, any government excuse. What would trigger these internment camps and the continuity of government programs to preserve government and round up the American people. And we use historical examples of the Japanese internment camps. So we show that the American government has already rounded up people, citizens of this country, who were from Japan. They were just Japanese Americans, actual American citizens, rounded up and put in the camps because they were thought to be threats to the state. So, and then we show who the modern day enemies of this country are. I should say enemies of the state, and we use government documents to prove that today's government doesn't really like people who adhere to the Constitution. So you just get the film, you'll get the point. CampFEMA.com is for that one. Then there's my sequel to that is called Enemy of the State, Camp FEMA, which takes a closer look at the propaganda around the different pandemic scenarios and trigger mechanisms that would also trigger those internment camps. The third film, which I sort of like to call my personal sort of sequel to America, Freedom, and Fascism, is called Don't Tread on Me, The Rise of the Republic. And in that film, we take a look at the 10th Amendment, we take a look at the power of the sheriff, we take a look at different movements across the country where people are actually taking action. We talk to state senators who are very vocal about supporting states' rights, and we give people practical solutions to fight back and show that there is a great movement taking place in this country. So that's the third film I actually wrote and produced. And then I've got a couple of screenplays for some new films that I'm working on, but we're currently in early pre-production for the third Camp FEMA film, and it's just going to be called Camp FEMA 3 right now. I do have a working title, but I don't really like it. But given the state of the gun debate, all these gun grab discussions, drones, NDAA, I mean, there's more than enough fodder to lay out the blueprint currently. So it's going to be an updated version with all the current information mixed in with the concentration camps in America scenario. So, here we are.
You know how many people you know how many people I've been able to wake up with your first and second film? The second one, I always tell them you can't, I make sure that I don't let them, if I'm introducing it to them, I introduce them in sequential order, because that way they kind of, because I think the second one would be a little too shocking for them if they hadn't seen the first one. So when they see the first one, and then I give them a little time to digest it, and then I give them part two. Usually by the time they see the first one, their eyes are like silver dollars, and then part two just seals the deal.
Freedom to Fascism or Camp FEMA?
Camp FEMA.
Oh, Camp FEMA 1, then Camp FEMA 2?
Yeah. Freedom to Fascism, just a whole nother aspect. I mean, that movie by itself will wake people up. But if you, on the deal of FEMA camps, there's so many people that don't believe in them. They think it's like some kooky conspiracy theory. Oh, there's no, FEMA camps don't exist, Gary. You're nuts.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when you watch Camp FEMA, I actually went and interviewed a local internment camp survivor, and he didn't, when I referred to it as an internment camp, he referred to it as a concentration camp. So here's a Japanese American. I'm sitting in his living room, surrounded by his war relics, and he's correcting me, okay, saying, no, Gary, these are concentration camps. People were killed at these places. People were shot if they got too close to the fence line, okay? So they weren't like picnic zones. These were camps that had armed guards and you could not leave. So yes, it's already happened in this country. And what's interesting though is Camp FEMA, the first one, and then Don't Tread on Me. Those two films are, I like to say those are two films you should watch back to back, because at the end of Camp FEMA 1, it dovetails. It starts to go into the sovereign states, the states' rights solution, the power of the sheriff solution, and that's actually where I got the idea for Don't Tread on Me, Rise of the Republic, because I was watching Camp FEMA one night, and we got to the end, and I said, man, we need to expound on this topic. So if you give Camp FEMA 1 and Don't Tread on Me as the follow-up, they blend together very nicely in a timeline capacity.
All the movies, I'm telling you, all your films. I think if you could probably watch them. I guess if you were going to watch them in a timeline, you could watch Freedom to Fascism, and then the first Camp FEMA, and then Don't Tread on Me, and then Camp FEMA 2. And that the Gary Franchi collection.
Yeah, well, we're working on a third one. Hopefully, we can get some more momentum behind that. I've just got so many things going on. I just sat down one night and wrote the full script outline, and then send it off to William for analysis. We just haven't reconnected on the next steps yet. And then I've got a couple other films. I don't want to reveal too much, but I got a couple other films. Hopefully, in the future, if I can get some real funding, I would try to put all this broadcasting stuff on autopilot so the producers and the hosts and all these things can work. And I can take my freaking camera and I can go to these different parts of the country. I can interview these key people, and then put my film together. A couple of different films I want to make. But that's where a lot of the cost comes in. Is the flying around, the traveling, meeting people, sitting down, interviewing, and collecting all the information, and then sitting down and editing it. And if you don't know how to edit, then you got to hire a professional editor to do it for you. And there's all the different video assets you've got to acquire. You got to get the rights to some of the stuff. Some of it's public domain, and you got to figure out. There's so many different loopholes and hoops you got to jump through. Then, of course, there's the distribution of the film. You've got to figure out how you're going to distribute it and market it and get it out to the American public, and anyway.
Well, see, there's a lot to it, man. There's a lot that people don't know behind the scenes that you go through. It's good that people get a chance to hear all the stuff. I think a lot of people, there's a huge disconnect when they, people get angry. Why do I have to pay $20 for a film or something? Well, do you understand everything that goes on between point A and point B? Point B being the movie being released, and point A being the concept popping into your noodle. In between those 2 points, there is a lot of stuff that goes on in between those two.
And it can take a year or 2 years or 3 years to put a film together. And in the meantime, you're not making any money on that film. You're spending money to make that film. And unless you have some wealthy benefactor somewhere, that money's coming out of your pocket, I mean, thank God when I made Camp FEMA 1, I contacted the people and members of Restore the Republic and said, hey, I gotta go fly out to Austin, Texas. I gotta interview Alex Jones for the film. And what they do, people came together, we raised the money, I was able to get a hotel, rental car, and an airplane, and I was able to shoot the segments I needed in Austin, Texas.
There you go. I'm going to cut us off, Gary, because the break's sneaking up on us. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That just goes to show the power. And this is get involved, help out. I'm not kidding. You could help make history. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Final segment with my guest tonight, Mr. Gary Franchi. Check out his website, nextnewsnetwork.com, rtr.org. Gary, where can people go to help you out if they want to donate and help out to expand the projects that you're working on in any of your future films?
Well, the first thing they can do is go to restoretherepublic.com/give. And any donation that they can give helps. We have a lot of expenses here. We've got staff, we've got servers, we've got so much overhead that it costs to run this thing, and every penny helps to make that happen. And so money is always a good thing for us over here. It keeps the wheels moving. Secondarily, we want people to just use our websites and connect and communicate with each other. Share the links that other members are sharing at rtr.org, and share them to Facebook, share them to Twitter. Help drive the traffic back into our site, push it back out, and it creates this like never-ending loop. Go to our new news network at nextnewsnetwork.com. Share that feed. Let people know you're watching it, and tell people that this is a new alternative video news platform that is completely independent and not beholden to the same corporate masters who are pulling the strings on the televisions that you see across the country today. And these are the simple things you can do to help us continue to give the message out to the American people, continue to wake up the American people, give the American people real information, real actionable intelligence, actionable information, so they can make informed decisions for their families, so they can make informed decisions for themselves, and people that they care about, their friends. And it all works together in this never-ending loop of love and compassion, bringing people together in the spirit of liberty, in the spirit of bringing this country back on track, and just pushing out the darkness, man.
I agree, dude. We all need to come together because, whatever petty differences that we may have, or things that we might have different sub views about things. The basic premise that we all can agree on is that it's them versus us, and if we don't all get our shit straight, then we're all going to be in deeper crap than we are now. If we can all just put some of our petty differences aside, I think, and work together as a cohesive unit, this dark new world order, they don't stand a chance. And that is one of the reasons they keep us separated, Gary. That's why they keep they'll foment infighting, or they'll foment distrust. You see a lot of stuff, and I'm not talking about legitimate criticism. I'm talking about the blatant COINTELPRO garbage crap, or I shouldn't say COINTELPRO because that's an old program. The blatant COINTEL techniques, the counterintelligence stuff that they do, and then even the stuff that they do to the mass general public, keeping us fighting amongst each other. There's always a division: black, white, red, purple, whatever. It doesn't matter. If it's not color, it's sex. If it's not sex, it's political stance. If it's not political stance, it's something else. You wear a blue shirt and he wears a white shirt. There's always a way to label and keep everybody disconnected and separate from each other. I say we abolish all of that garbage. I say we just get rid of all the labels, get rid of it. And if people say, well, how do we do that? You have to start doing it. And you have to encourage others to start doing it. Lead by example. What do you think, Gary? Your ideas for solutions in the last few minutes here.
Well, that's what it is, man. You have to set the example for those around you. Even like just driving on the road. Cut back on that road rage, man, because it is infectious. And you piss off someone, and someone else gets pissed off, and then that person goes to work and they're pissed off. Reverse that trend. There's enough hate in this world, and the hate just travels to the top. And that's how they control us, through hate, through evil, and through force. And we're just trying to take that, turn it around, and just use it for good, you know.
I agree. If we don't turn this around and we don't try to take the energy and their mechanism and turn it around and use it for good, we're not going to stand a chance. And if we keep playing into it, you're right. The fear produces that hate, and then everybody pumps into that feeling, whether it's something like I hate you because you're this color, or something as minuscule as someone's upset because they broke up with their girlfriend and they say I hate love. That's a pretty powerful statement to say that you hate love. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you, I know that's pretty deep, but you understand what I mean. We have to change people's mindsets, and I'm not saying brainwashing or anything like that. I'm just saying we have to help people to understand that there's no reason for them to put out such negativity all the time, or succumb to the negativity either. That's why the news, again, your news network, your broadcast is such a breath of fresh air, Gary, because what do you constantly see out of the mainstream media? Fear, 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 fear,
well,
fear,
it's
fear.
funny you should say that, because I figured I'd look up this quote from a famous person. His name's Yoda, and he says, fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. That's what Yoda says, man. And heed the words of the Jedi.
Well said.
Man.
Well, I mean, well said. And he's right. It does. Because with the fear, then they can control you, and they can convince you to convert to the dark side, because you're so afraid of whatever. You know, look what people are willing to do out of fear. Look what's going on right now. Oh, protect us, big government. Take our guns away from us.
How ridiculous is that? How ridiculous is that? I mean, look, it's an obvious tragedy that these children were massacred, but does it mean that everyone has to come out now and everyone just turn over your guns? And there's this huge debate on whether or not Americans should even hold guns. Well, damn it, you know, how do we become America? It was because of the freaking gun that freed this country. And now they're just forgetting all that, and they're ready to turn them all in. And everyone's like, oh, you know, for the children. You know, it's these acute moments of fear that people just lose all sense of reality because they're lost in the emotion, and then that emotion takes them over. They make poor judgments, and then before you know it, we're all sitting in freaking FEMA camps, and we're getting ready to get shoveled into the freaking oven. You know? But
it's for the safety of the kids, Gary.
Yeah, right. I keep forgetting that.
And this comes from people who are routinely caught, like, trafficking kids in for sexual deviancy and their own little occult rituals and whatever the hell else they do with these poor kids, right? And these lawmakers, they routinely get caught doing this stuff, and then they're going to tell us, we have to take your guns to protect the kids. No, you know how you protect the kids? Take the lawmakers out of Congress, all of them. Flush them all down the toilet. Clean the White House out. Flush that down the toilet. Clean out all these different agencies. Flush all the heads and all the higher-ups down the toilet and start over again. Maybe just get rid of most of these government agencies that we don't need anyway, right?
Well, I think that Washington just needs to fall into the Potomac, and I think everything would be just that much better, because there's no need for this overarching bureaucracy when every single state has their own frickin' bureaucracy to deal with. So, you know, if anything, let the federal government deal with international treaties and international war, and if any American citizen should have their rights threatened, then the federal government should come in and say, that's not right. That person deserves to be free. And that's the way the freaking government was supposed to be set up by our founders, by the Constitution, not all this other garbage that they've added onto and thrown out over the years.
You got that right. I guarantee you that the cause for the earthquakes that we've had here in the country over the past couple years are not anything to do with fracking or anything like that. I'm willing to bet it's the founding fathers doing 360s in their graves. Of course, I'm being sarcastic, ladies and gentlemen, but the point is very clear. The founders, if they were alive today, would be barfing all over everyone in this country, and they would say, are you kidding me? we would have been shooting by now. And I'm not advocating that, but what I'm saying is the country doesn't even have the courage to stand up and get out in the streets and get pissed off and at least voice their opinion. People are still sitting at home.
They keep credit easy. They keep giving people credit cards in the mail. The televisions are still on. The foods are still stocked on the shelves in the stores, and that's all. Until that's disrupted, then you're not going to see anything happen. And as far as the founders, you said that they'd be done by now. It's funny you should say that. I had a poster I made back when the Tea Party was just getting started, and we distributed these posters all across the country, and it said the founders would have been done by now. And and then we had a whole bunch of great posters we put out there. But anyway, that was one of them.
And that's why Gary is on the list from, was it the Southern Poverty Law Center, right?
Yeah, I'm on the Southern Poverty Law Center hit list, Patriot number 9. But the funny thing is Popeye, and I still haven't quite figured out this whole thing, but you know, I passed a CIA background check to get government clearance, national security clearance, to go to a top secret facility a couple years ago. And I was actually invited to that facility twice. Once for a retirement luncheon and once for the Christmas party of Washington, D.C. black tie affair. And my wife and I went to the facility. Anyway, we can reserve that for another conversation.
That's all right. Well, obviously, if you pass the CIA background check, then you can't be that bad of a guy. That means the Southern Poverty Law Center is full of crap and they're a propaganda machine. That's how you end that one. Gary, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, RTR.org, nextnewsnetwork.com. Help them out. Help be part of history. We will be right back with hour number 2. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. It is January 16th, 2013. I am your host, Popeye from federaljack.com. And tonight, in hour number 2, I'm going to be going over the gun control garbage out of the executive branch. We should just call it the toiletry branch, but for all the crap that flows from the pipes over there. But anyway, I want to plug 2 things really quick. And one thing I've already plugged before, but the other thing is he's a listener. It's a business of a listener. And he's constantly putting plugs out. And he, if I remember correctly, I believe he's actually spoken at Professor Tracy's class before. The very same professor whose class I've spoken at and whose defense I've come to because the mainstream media has seen fit to try to drag his name through the mud, which you can all hear in the archives. Just go to federaljack.com. It's from the 13th, from 3 days ago. But you guys should go check out this business. It's a Little Caesars Pizza over in Boynton Beach, and the owner's a good guy. He works. It's not like he owns a place and he's this rich dude and he's off, gallivanting around. He actually works in the business that he owns. He's a regular business owner, not some bazillionaire millionaire. Although that's how the government would have you believe most of these business owners are nowadays, right? So this guy's a good guy. He's a listener, and he gets out there. He's constantly spreading the truth out. So go over to the Little Caesars of Boynton Beach. If you're in Florida, if you're in Boca, around the area of in the area, check out Little Caesars of Boynton Beach, 119 North Congress Avenue, and the phone number is 561-732-0773. And he says that if you mention my name, he says if you go in there and you mention, hey, I heard you're at the advertisement on Down the Rabbit Hole with Popeye, he'll give you free crazy bread. So I'm not getting paid for this. He doesn't give me any money for this. The owner's a listener. He's a good guy, and I really appreciate all the stuff he does, so I wanted to give him a shout-out, and I promised him actually about a week ago that I was going to give his place a plug, and I just completely zoned out with fighting the gun control garbage and everything else, and I'm a man of my word. I don't like to not follow through with when I say I'm going to do things, so go check out the Little Caesars over Little Caesars of Boynton Beach, 119 North Congress Ave, 561-732-0773. And again, if you tell them that you heard the plug on the broadcast. He says, just mention Popeye's name and you'll get free crazy bread. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I want to get into a warning first from the Australians. Now, I'm going to have to end up playing probably the last few minutes of this when we come back into the second segment. But I want to get as much of this in as I can because we're being shamed into getting rid of our weapons because it's for the children, because of a school shooting. Well, I've heard this garbage before, okay? This is the same crap they used in Britain, and this is the same crap that they used in Australia to take people's guns away. So let's see what the people of Australia have to say, since Australia has been getting thrown around lately as, well, we should ban guns like they did. Look, they had a school shooting and blah, 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 blah. Well, let's see what the Australians think.
It's disgusting that almost every day we learn of another person being terrorized, robbed, and attacked in their home.
For Christ's sake, get a bit of vision.
We want justice. Carrying signs and chanting, "We want justice," more than 2,000 angry Australians delivered a personal message to Parliament's doorstep. They're fed up with false promises and sick and tired of living in fear. We want justice.
The bottom line is people want to know that they have a right to defend themselves.
We come from a small country town, and it started happening there, and just with having a 6-week-old baby, I like to know that I can protect her, and that we feel safe in our own home.
I would say that the politicians in this country, in Australia, have missed the boat entirely, and they've harmed a lot of people who didn't deserve harming with their laws and their approach to it.
A gun buyback that forced law-abiding citizens to surrender their firearms in a nationwide roundup and meltdown of all semi-automatic firearms and pump-action rifles and shotguns. 640,000 ordinary conventional firearms confiscated and destroyed.
It was an absolute joke and a tragedy. I actually turned in 3 firearms, and it broke my heart.
I mean, it was 40 years of collecting, and I can't say it any other way than that. I felt sick. I had to hand them in because if I didn't, I was going to jail.
There's no ifs or buts about that. By taking that gun away from me, they've stolen something from me.
A right stolen by their government, promising safety in return for its gun bans. But now citizens know the frightening truth. The cost of lost liberty can be measured in the loss of life.
It's become very, very obvious, even to blind Freddie, that the expenditure of $500 million has done absolutely nothing to reduce crime.
It certainly didn't do what the government touted it would do, which was to reduce crime. It hasn't done that at all. In fact, there's been more.
This has been a lot of bull and hasn't really done much to help society and with its problems.
Cold, hard facts the anti-gun forces can no longer escape. Armed robberies have skyrocketed, up 69%. Assaults involving guns rose 28%. Gun murders increased 19%. And a new phenomenon, home invasions jumped 21%. An increase politicians insist they can't explain because they're still trying to legally define what a home invasion is and what the penalty should be.
Part of the difficulty is that there is no clear definition of home invasion in the law.
Here, I'll give you a clear definition. Some moron kicks in your front door, comes in, and tries to steal everything you have and or rape and pillage and murder everybody in the house. I consider that a home invasion. If you are not allowed to be in my house, if you did not come in through the front door invited because I let you in, that's a home invasion and therefore should be treated as one. And we all know how home invasions should be treated, at least how I feel they should be treated. Anyway, back to the audio.
Ceased to be amazed at the ingenuity of lawyers.
If the politicians want a pay rise, boom, that's done in 20 minutes. But to define home invasion, what a joke.
I have no trouble at all in defining what a home invasion is. I think if someone sets their foot inside your door uninvited, they are invading your home and your privacy.
Oh, look, the Australian lady agrees with me.
And victims who have survived home invasions don't need a definition. They've lived through hours of terror. Arthur Field was tied up his hands and feet taped, his phone lines cut, while 2 robbers ransacked his house.
And they jumped on me and knelt on my chest and grabbed me around the throat because I immediately started calling out, help.
I don't know how many men, they start smashing the windows. There was a lot of glass shattering, a lot of noise outside, and I stood in the kitchen, I was trembling.
The Zawadzkis remember thugs running through their home, demanding money, and threatening to kill them. Mr. Zawadsky says if he had a firearm, the suspects never would have gotten away.
Do you will stand there, waiting till you get killed? Or you will defend yourself? Tell me true, you will defend yourself.
Scars that never heal. Citizens left powerless. But it's criminals who have been empowered and emboldened by the new gun laws because the innocent can't fight back.
What's happening today is that the offender, the bad guys, are happy to break into somebody's house. They're not frightened to break into somebody's house while they're at home.
Citizens denied the right to protect themselves by a justice system that won't.
Well, my opinion of the legal system here is it's absolutely weak. Weak as water. I mean, it's because they've just got no backbone. That the sentencing for various crimes is just pathetic.
I'm going to pause right there, and I'll finish the audio up on the other side. We're going to be going over some of the, what did Joe call him? Barack Obama? Or Obama, whatever you want to call him. The dictator-in-chief. We'll go over his executive crap orders. But I want to finish this audio. Warning from the Australians. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. And as I said, there was something else. There was a second thing I wanted to promote before we get back into the audio. I want to promote this other thing really quick. And that would be the Connected Warrior Yoga program that is helping out a lot of vets with PTSD and physical disabilities. And believe it or not, I've seen with my own 2 eyes vets who, years of physical therapy did nothing for them. And 2 months of going to a couple yoga classes a week for an hour. And the guy is able to tie his own shoes and stuff again. And you have no idea how empowering that is to somebody who hasn't been able to tie their own shoes or, bend over and do that. Believe it or not, you'd be surprised what we take advantage of and what we take for granted until you no longer have it. So check out this program. I fully endorse them. And they're in 9 states right now. And if you're into yoga or you're a yoga instructor, which I know there's a lot of people that do yoga that listen to the broadcast, if you're in another state, check out connectedwarriors.org. It's connectedwarriors.org. And if you want to call them up, if you're in the South Florida area and you want to call them up for where the yoga classes are, or if you're out in another state and you'd like to call them and find out how you can bring the program out to where you are in another state, which they're working on right now. They're actually creating a training DVD. I was there I got to actually see part of it being done, so I know it's actually getting done. But you can call them at 954-278-3764. 954-278-3764. And the Connected Warriors program is the real deal. These people do it all for free. They're a nonprofit. They don't make any money. The teachers don't get paid for this. I know, because I know some of the teachers that volunteered their time. They do not get paid for this, and I endorse this. This is awesome. I mean, I've seen even the older Vietnam vets that have gone through some of the yoga classes. As I said, after 2 months, a guy's able to tie his own shoes again. And for someone that wasn't able to do it for years and had to have his wife or whoever help him tie his own shoes, that's empowering. Again, ladies and gentlemen, unless you're a disabled veteran or someone who is disabled, it's hard to understand what we take for granted until you can't do it anymore. And these people, these volunteers, are giving veterans the ability to do things on their own again, and I wholeheartedly endorse that. So check them out, connectedwarriors.org. They're really good people over there. So I want to finish up this audio, and then I have a snippet from the British, and then I want to go over the executive orders really quick, or the executive toilet garbage, whatever you want to call it. I'm trying to be clean. The executive crap, we'll call it. executive orders. We should have written into, listen to me like I was around back then. I'm surprised they didn't write something into the Constitution that says executive orders, you can't do them. I don't understand why, I don't get how they build the Constitution. This is one of the things that kind of irritates me. The Constitution is this awesome document and everything else, and the way they set things up. But there was a few loopholes they left, and I don't know. I just don't like the executive action. I think it should be considered unconstitutional, and I think all executive orders should be. Does not matter if they benefit you. See, that's the problem. A lot of these things benefit people, and then they don't want to squash them because they'll have 50 bad ones and one halfway good, halfway bad one. But in the halfway good part is because it'll be something horrible, but then there'll be something maybe that'll benefit a small group of people. To please whoever's constituency or whatever, or for whatever reason, right? And it'll be snuck in there, and they'll do something good. Most of these things are look. If you have to go around the Constitution, or if you have to go around Congress, or if you have to go around the way the government was set up and the founding fathers and all this other stuff, if you have to go around the basic principles of how this country is supposed to run, the basic instruction manual, right? Then obviously something's wrong. I would consider it illegal. I'm just surprised they didn't put something in there that said any decree by the president, executive action, whatever you want to call it. Perhaps they didn't think of the term executive order, though, but I don't want to digress too much. I want to finish up the last 2 minutes of the audio here before we come up to the next break. So here we go. Obama, the dictator-in-chief. Ugh. Okay, back to the warning from the Australians about giving up our guns. Remember, their gun crime rate went up. And don't forget, South Africa, when they gave up their guns, their cops were getting carjacked for their guns. The cops were getting carjacked and shot and killed and stabbed and killed and whatever for their guns. So taking away the guns from everybody and just giving certain people the guns, well, then those certain people become targets. Good job.
And police who can't. They're undermanned and morale has never been lower.
It's very bad at the moment. It's never been worse. Since 1993, we've had a real decrease in over 230 sworn police officers in this state.
These policemen have joined the job, and policewomen have joined the job to go out and do it, and they can't even attend at breaks or assaults because there's no vehicle to even get them there. I mean, that's just absolutely ridiculous.
Gun laws that have backfired. And Australians who have been forced to hide behind bars and deadbolts. Some are even installing extensive security systems because the firearms they still own that haven't been banned have to be locked up, unloaded, and unavailable.
I mean, get real. If I have someone break in here, I've got to go get the bolt, get the rifle, find the ammunition somewhere else, put it all together, and then defend myself. If this other person's got a firearm, it's going to threaten my life. No way. It doesn't bloody add up.
A political fraud. Gun bans that haven't made a difference, and gun owners now struggling to stop a growing momentum against them.
The people pushing the removal of guns from the Australian society are already saying that's only the first step. Publicly, that's only the first step. Now we want the handguns, we want every other firearm.
They're warning to Americans, don't think it can't happen to you. It can, and it already is.
Unless you, as a firearms owner, get off your butt now and start to oppose those that want to take them off of you right here and now, I would say that within 5 to 10 years, the restrictions on gun owners in America will be similar to what happens in Australia.
Don't trust your politicians.
There you go. Don't trust your politicians. Period. Don't trust them. We won't take your guns. Yeah. And this was made more than 5 years ago. It's actually a little older. You know what part of the problem is? I think a lot of people got too complacent. They're not going to come after the guns, guys. Come on. They wouldn't do that. They didn't do it in his first presidency. Well, what's the first thing he did in the beginning of his second presidency? Look, all these executive orders he signed. Some of them are just crap. And I mean, when you look at them, it's like, really? You needed an executive order to do that? But everybody said that he wouldn't do it. He won't do it. He wouldn't dare. It doesn't mean it's legal. It doesn't mean that people should, if there are people out there that think that they should enforce it, it doesn't mean you should enforce it. Just because this dictator says you can't have this or you can't have that. You notice how he didn't push in his orders. There are certain things that he didn't outright say or go for. As I said, he's very limited. What are they calling it now? Executive actions. Which, by the way, Congress can tell him to screw and kick rocks. So what you need to do is you need to get pissed off. Now, the British, they warned us. I'm going to play a little audio next segment from that. The British warned us, look, don't get complacent. They shamed us into giving our guns up. We gave our guns up because they shamed us into it. They made us feel bad. We gave our guns up, and now look. You really want to be like that? Giving up weapons will not make you safer. There's other things. There are real positive solutions to the problems. Giving up our guns and our defense and our safety is not one of them. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, I only got a half hour left here, so I have to jam this in, and I want to rip apart some of these executive orders, which is just ridiculous. But I want to play a little bit of this audio from the British, this warning from the British really quick, because it's important. Because again, right now people are all, well, you know, I'm afraid to open my mouth because little kids died. Really? Really? You're going to be shamed into giving up your protection for something you had nothing to do with? Really? Well, you know, Popeye, what do we do? Stop being a bunch of Sallys and stand up for yourselves. You're being set up, and you're allowing yourself to be just slapped around, and it's disgusting. People need to get out, and people need to protest. Get out in the street and make it physical. Make people physically see that the country is pissed off. Because, see, by saying, well, the country demands, more than half the country demands stricter gun laws, and they want guns taken off the streets and blah, 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 blah. Really? Gun sales say otherwise. And believe me, it's not the same 10 people going out and buying guns in every state, okay? No one's selling off their house to buy weapons. Where would they stockpile them? Duh. So obviously your numbers are wrong, and you are lying, mainstream media. But let's see what the British have to say after they gave up their guns. That's when they protested. Afterwards.
Violent procession of a people grasping for one last chance to resist, shamefully admitting they only have themselves to blame for government policies that threaten their way of life, their security, and the future of democracy in Britain.
Do you hear what she just said? They have only themselves to blame because they let it happen. Hello, wake up, people. Wakey, wakey. None of this executive order crap. He can say whatever he wants. That's nice. My friends, one of my, people I grew up in high school with could make an executive order. Does that make them the president? No. Joe Joseph could make an executive order. Does that make him the president? I mean, I could literally type out something that looks all, prim and proper on some nice piece of letterhead, and we can call it an executive order. But does that really mean that it holds any weight? No. If we acquiesce to it, it does. Now, how far are they going to push this? I don't know. It's going to be an interesting year, but I digress. I don't want to take up too much time. Here we go. A warning from the UK. Remember what she just said? Remember? The Brits have only themselves to blame. So let's not be like them. And they're trying to warn us.
We've been very apathetic for years, and now we're paying the price for it.
It's a disgrace, really. And we've seen these fundamental liberties eroded in the last 20-odd years in England, all sorts of legislation that should never have appeared.
Sportsmen and shooters fooled by politicians into thinking that England's age-old tradition of fox hunting would never be targeted or banned. Now realizing, perhaps too little too late, that their traditions are no more secure than their freedoms.
This isn't about banning fox hunting. This is about the liberty of the individual to choose for him or herself what they do.
A future that's in doubt, and the largest peaceful protest in British history to try to change that has got many asking, where were these voices 6 years ago when there was an outright ban on handguns and pistol shooters were forced to surrender their firearms, confiscated by the government to be destroyed?
Did you hear what she just say? What she just said? Did you hear? Where was all this outrage that people are pissed off about them trying to ban fox hunting over there? Where was the same outrage when people had to give up their pistols? Oh, we'll never make you give up your pistols. We would never do that. We love the Second Amendment. You just have to give up your semi-automatic rifles, which is the same technology as a semi-automatic pistol. It's just a rifle. Then you hear all these pundits, there's no reason civilians should have access to semi-automatic weapons. Really? Well, semi-automatic technology, genius, is over 100 years old. So if you're going to look at things that way, then I guess we should get rid of toilets and everybody should be crapping and peeing in outhouses again. We should get rid of cars because, you know, that's a technology that's about around the same age, actually a little bit, I would say a little younger than than semi-auto technology, or maybe around the same time frame period, or give or take 10, 15 years, whatever. Anyway, we have to get rid of that. We should get rid of, like I said, indoor plumbing because, I mean, who needs that, right? You don't need indoor plumbing. Right? If we're going to get rid of things that, technology that's over 100 years old, then let's just apply it across the board. We should probably cut down on people's electric standards. Oh, wait a minute. The Obama administration's already doing that. But see, I can digress because of this agenda. Here we go. Back to the Brits.
Hear people saying the proposed ban on fox hunting is the thin end of the wedge. I am a pistol shooter. As far as I'm concerned, we've already swallowed the wedge. And where does it go next?
Liberties that have already been sacrificed for the politicians' false promise of a safer society. Gun bans that, as predicted, have simply backfired.
We've seen about a 40% increase in firearms crime since the ban was introduced. That is not a success in my book.
We need to be armed. We're not safe any longer.
But Piers Morgan says that everybody sings Kumbaya over in the UK.
Everything is changing.
It's very simple. The authorities have no way of controlling criminals, so they control the law-abiding because we're an easy target.
And now, some members of Parliament are questioning the government's anti-gun agenda, an agenda that has, without a doubt, failed.
The use of weapons in crime has risen dramatically. And it's very difficult to get government departments to openly accept the fact.
Politicians refusing to face the facts, while the police are forced to every day.
It's totally out of control.
This police officer, who feared he'd lose his job for speaking out, asked to remain anonymous. He said for the first time ever, bobbies are carrying firearms, but they're still outgunned by criminals who can buy whatever they want on the black market.
Every officer now in this country gets issued with body armour. When I joined the police service back in the 80s, we didn't have any of this. We had a wooden truncheon and a set of chain link handcuffs. The firearms laws have been tightened up since. Why do we still need this equipment? Simply because the criminals have the weapons and they're prepared to use them.
Gun policy's gone tragically wrong, and police morale at an all-time low.
I feel let down by the politicians, by the senior management in the police. I feel at present I cannot give the public the service they demand and expect.
But Mr. UK police officer, I thought, according to Piers Morgan, again, everybody sings Kumbaya and crime is down in the UK. I thought banning guns was the magical solution over there. You mean crime went up when they banned guns because only the bad guys had them? Oh, I know it seems logical to me, but what do I know?
And as this officer made very clear, it's a law built on a lie.
The politicians, basically, they have misled the public. They said, if we ban handguns, the country's going to be a safer place. They ban the handguns, the country is not a safer place. Why are British people not to be trusted? And I think that says a lot about the government.
Citizens left defenseless, now victims of the very laws passed to protect them. and asking how many more Tony Martins will there be. Martin, a Norfolk farmer, was forced to protect himself when no one else would. Not the police and not the British justice system. What happened at this farmhouse owned by Tony Martin 4 years ago has struck a real nerve, not only in this country, but internationally. 2 men broke into Tony Martin's house. Both of them were shot. One of them was killed. And the man who fired that gun, Tony Martin, was initially sentenced to life in prison for murder. But many people think Tony Martin should never have spent 1 day in jail. They say he was just an innocent man protecting himself and his property.
Tony should not be in jail, not for what he did. He was perfectly within his rights, in my view, to look after his own property and his own life.
My thoughts is that I would do exactly the same, put in the same situation. I would not hesitate to do exactly the same.
I personally believe that, if you're in your own house and people come in, then they should expect whatever they get.
Everybody around was saying the same thing. You must have a right to defend yourself. It has gone too far, swung so far in favour of the criminal.
Criminals like those in Tony Martin's case.
All right, I'm going to pause it right there, ladies and gentlemen, because the break's going to be coming up in a minute here. But do you want this country to turn into that? Because that's what this will turn into. And if you don't think it will, then you're sorely mistaken. First, they'll take the rifles. Remember, they're semi-automatic. They're not fully automatic. Right? Well, you can kill people in seconds with it. You can kill people in seconds with a car, too. We're going to take that away? How about vaccines? Vaccines kill more people than guns. Oh, but you don't hear about that because they cover up the numbers. Let's not talk about all the diseases people get. We'll be right back. Cancer. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment. I want to read 2 quotes to you from Mao Tse-tung. Now, a lot of people always try to push this, they don't want to call it communism, but that's what this agenda really is. And of course, communism is a red herring. It's really the illuminist whatever agenda. Most of the Communist Manifesto is just based off of writings from Adam Weishaupt. So that's a whole separate subject. If you go read Gary Allen's None Dare Call It Conspiracy to see what I'm talking about. But Mao has 2 quotes that before I go over the executive orders here from Maobama, or Obama, whatever you want to call him, I want to read you these 2 quotes from Mao Zedong. First, communism is not love. Communism is a hammer which we use to crush the enemy. So for those of you that think that some sort of socialist utopia that you've been preached, or if you are a communist and you read the Communist Manifesto and you think that's the answer to everything, okay, it's all about love and humanity and everything else. No, it's not. You're being fed lines of garbage. Educate yourself, okay? Go find out where communism really comes from, who really wrote the Communist Manifesto, and it certainly wasn't Karl Marx. Educate yourself. Go check out None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen. It's in my ebook archive. Just check it out. Just go to the ebook section. It's there. You can download it for free. federaljack.com. Educate yourself, okay? I'll repeat this one more time. This is from Mao Zedong. This isn't from some conspiracy theorist person, whatever you want to make fun of, ad hominem label, whatever you want to put, sitting in their basement, retard, ha, 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 point fingers and laugh like a Pavlovian moron, right? No. This is from Mao Zedong. Listen to this again. Communism is not love. Communism is a hammer which we use to crush the enemy. Any questions? Now, when it comes to guns, right? What did he have to say about guns? Well, Mao Zedong said this: political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. I'll repeat that. Political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. And he had all the guns. And look at the atrocities he committed. Oh, but that won't happen here because that's the United States of America, Popeye. Really? What about all the gun control laws we have now? Which I may remind you, I think it's pretty pathetic that people say, oh, it's racist. Oh, you wanting guns is racist, and gun owners are racist. Really? Let me educate you on something really quick. Perhaps you should go check out a film called No Guns for Negroes. It's made by the same people that made Innocents Betrayed, the Jews for the Preservation of Firearms. Just look them up. I forget the exact title of the website. I think it's jfpo.org, but I could be wrong. Just look them up on whatever search engine. Jews for the Preservation of Firearms. Whether you like Jewish people or not, just look up the website and go watch the movie. They show you. The original gun control laws were made so that black people could not get guns after the Civil War. That's what gun control law, that's where the basis of the gun control laws that we have come from. So don't tell me about being racist because I want to own a gun, you lying son of a bitches. Don't try to BS me and the rest of the general public. Oh, you're racist if you want to own a gun. No. You're the ones that are inherently racist. Why should only special privileged class people have guns and all sorts of fully automatic weapons? You don't even want us to have semi-autos. They have fully automatic weapons. I've played the audio repeatedly from Officer Leroy Pyle where he shows you the difference. And even in the audio, you can hear a distinct difference between fully automatic weapons and semi-automatic weapons. Fully automatic weapons, he squeezes the trigger, and in the time it takes to burp, it's done. You hear prrr, prrr. And that was it. That fast. The semi-auto is pop, pop, pop. But we need to ban semi-autos. I don't know the name of the one idiot that was on CNN the other day. I don't know why any civilian should have a semi-automatic firearm. Oh, how about if I quote Admiral Yamamoto from the architect of the invasion of Pearl Harbor and a revered high-ranking Japanese admiral when they were planning and going over war plans and scenarios for the invasion of the mainland of the United States. You know what he said? I would never dream of invading the mainland United States, for there would be a gun behind every blade of grass. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you're told by your government to let them protect you, and they have your best interest at heart, let me explain something to you. Your protection is running around in foreign battlefields right now, doing the bidding of their corporate masters. Many of them not happy about it, but they're forced to because they're in a contract. And a lot of them break that contract and go AWOL. You have no idea how many soldiers out there are AWOL. And you can help the ones that are AWOL by just go check out ivaw.org. And I don't have the particulars in my head right now, but you can go, they have links up there. I know how to help out AWOL soldiers and stuff in other countries or whatever. Go help them out. There's a lot of people that are resisting this. But our protection's in another country. So if, I don't know, China wanted to come over and they said to our country, hey, you know what? We're tired of dealing with your crap. We bought up a lot of your bonds, right? And we're not going to wait for you to pay us back. And a lot of this crap, your dollar is going to crap anyway, so we're losing money. This is what we're going to do. We want this land. And the government says, well, we're trying to haggle with them. And they say, you know what, we're just going to come take it. What happens when they decide to try to just take some of the real estate that they want, that they've been promised? What happens if that happens? Or some other country gets a hair up its ass and decides it wants to take on the Americans. Well, if we're armed, even if our military is in another country fighting a war, you can bet your ass that there will be citizens that would stand up and defend the borders of the country from a foreign invader, right? Well, what happens if our government disarms us and then someone gets a hair up their ass and they decide to invade? Well, how do you protect against that if you don't have a firearm? That's what the Second Amendment's for. It's also there to make sure that if you get a tyrannical government that tries to get out of control, yeah, trying to get your attention there. If you get a government tyrannical in style that gets out of control, you can fire them and replace them. That's the whole point of everybody being on an equal footing. See, the Second Amendment is so that we have an equal footing with the police and the military. The mainstream media and the people that want to take your guns away would have you believe otherwise. The powers that shouldn't be, they would have you believe otherwise. They would have you believe that no. There's no way that the citizens should be on equal footing with the government when it comes to guns. What the frig do you think the Second Amendment was written for? The First Amendment was so that you could voice your opinion and give the government your middle finger with your left hand. And the Second Amendment was written so with your right hand you could draw up your pistol and say, go ahead, try to come and arrest me for giving you the finger and telling you to eat it. That's what it was for. The Second Amendment gives all the other ones teeth. If you take away anything and you start to eviscerate the Second Amendment, which is what they're doing, and if you don't think they're doing it gradually, it's called Fabian, Fabian anything. So in this case, like, Fabian socialism is really communism, which is really Illuminism. Well, this is like Fabian gun control. Fabian meaning creeping. So it's creeping gun control in little increments. Because if they did everything at once, if they just came and took the guns, there'd be an all-out gunfight. But see, if they do things, if they just turn the water up just a little bit, see, it's getting close to boiling, and the frogs are starting to go, hey, you know, Earl, this damn water's getting hot. You guys noticing this water's getting hot? The frogs are starting to look around at each other, right? So now they got to back off on the burner a little bit. You're pushing it you're turning up the heat too much. Hold on. Just back off a little bit. Slowly, let them fall asleep. Ah, that's right. Well, don't fall asleep. It's time to get up out of the water and get pissed off. The water is not a hot tub, okay? Trust me. That water we're sitting in is not a hot tub, ladies and gentlemen, at all. Time to get up and get angry. And it doesn't mean you have to go out and run around with pitchforks and torches just yet. But get out in the street and protest. That's the start of it. Why do you say protest? I know protests usually don't do anything, but the point is you have to show in numbers. And the reason I say that is right now this is also a litmus test on their end. How far can they push us? How far can they keep pushing us? They don't just do one thing just for one reason. They're doing it incrementally, and as they turn up the heat, they're monitoring us. Oh, the frogs are starting to notice. Turn it down a little bit. F that. Let's get out of the pot, turn the burner off, and handle business. This has gone way too far. Just because some idiot sitting on a throne in Washington says something doesn't mean it's valid. If it violates the Constitution and it violates natural law, then it's null and void. He's null and void. His whole administration is null and void. Everybody that works for him is null and void. And if you follow in his footsteps or you follow his orders, you're null and void. Be the solution to the problem, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're out of time. Thank you for your ears tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I love you all. I will close it out with this. The solutions to our problems are an inside job. I love you, and I will catch you all again on Friday.